there's going to be people that watch this. They're going to be triggered by your loose affiliation with the side B community, and they're going to instantly jump to the guilty by association fallacy. Hey, like, I know you hold to this, but did you hear about these people making friendship covenants and two same-sex attracted men all of a sudden do a covenant, they move in together, and they'll like reference some random thing that I personally am not super familiar with. Or they'll say this is a slippery slope, or they say, why would you say it's okay for people to identify as this, right? I would say that they're more, in my opinion, more on the fundamentalist, legalist side. But sometimes they don't do a great job of accurately representing people. And like, what would some of your thoughts be to that community that's like any reference of being same-sex attracted, they would say, oh, those are just disordered desires and you shouldn't even say that. There was one person specifically that flat out said, like, if you are dealing with same-sex attracted desires or gay, go back in the closet, right? What would be some of your response to that community, which I'm sure is going to see some of our conversation and try to tear it apart?
Yeah, there's no aspect of the character of God that's like, you're struggling with that, go back and struggle with it alone. So I rebuke that. There is no part of Christ that says, yeah, go do that alone. Christ says, bring it to me. And for some people, it's I have found that the majority of people who desire to name their temptations is an attempt to just let you know their experience. I'm not trying to say that this is my identity, that this is what I'm choosing, but what I want you to know, especially in the church world, so many conversations revolve around marriage, which is so unfair. And when you're being asked all the time, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Oh, where, that question, like when I'm thinking about, some of my guy friends who are gay, it's like, man, for them to be able to just like explain in I'm a gay Christian in one simple sentence, to share like, I have had deep theological wrestling and struggling and anguish for years of my life that I've walked through with the Lord, and I've come to, and when you say conclusion, it's like maybe not even the conclusion, but like in this season of life, dating a woman isn't an option for me because I struggle. Like, for us to damn people because of that is so un-Christ-like. It just totally misses the character of God to me. That it's like, we have to figure out, I think you got to ask yourself, what are you scared of? Are you scared that it is a slippery slope? Well, if you're scared that's a slippery slope, find someone who identifies that way and ask them questions. Ask them about their accountability. I'm sure people want to share. We gotta identify the roots of these things that are coming out as bad fruit. And we live in a place where it's like, instead of asking questions, we make accusations. That's all the internet is making accusations. And it's like, that's why I love Preston Sprinkle so much, is because he's creating this culture of Christians who can listen compassionately and engage thoughtfully and critically, but also hear people out and hear their stories, because that changes things. We don't understand the nuance of someone's life and their circumstances and even just syntax until we sit with that. And so I think is there a bias or something in my life that is making me so angry about the way this person said this or did this or is doing this, that it's actually a root in my life that I need to identify, that the Lord wants to walk with me through.
After the incredible success of our Bless God prayer journal, many of you guys began to ask for something that had a planner. And so we combined our Bless God prayer journal with a brand new leadership planner that jam-packs the same things from our prayer journal with a planner, goal setting, leadership meeting, and notes. With the next pages, you can see different sections right along here of this leadership planner, where you can start out with actionable goals, 12 months of calendar, our original prayer journal prompts, our leadership journal with the proven problem solution framework, and of course, just free write notes. This leadership planner is based off of Matthew 25:14-30, which of course is the parable of the talents. The vision of the planner is to help you make the most of your time, talent, and treasure. Head over to blessgod.shop and get yours today. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.
I think what's most interesting about that is even attending that event and hearing the four different perspectives that day, even if I may not agree with someone labeling themselves a gay Christian or whatever they want to, like whatever the label is, I think the practical wisdom of like people do deal with this, so we can get into the semantics of it and who should and shouldn't be. Will this person ever get married and be in a heterosexual marriage? Will they not? Will they forever identify? Should they put the word gay before Christian, or should they say it right? I think regardless on my personal opinions on that, which I don't think matter as much, I think the practical takeaway I got was I, as a married man, it'll be 16 years, me and my wife have been married together 20 years, need to be more intentional to be engaged with the single people in my church and not just kind of do my own thing and do my own life. And so that was, I walked away from that conference like, oh man, that was convicting. Like that was convicting, and that like I need to lean in. Not that like I'm looking at dudes in the church that are maybe same-sex attracted. I'm like, I want to be your mentor, right? It wasn't like that. It was just like, man, there's folks in the church that can really benefit from having access and relationship and coming over and doing the mundane things with me. So I left that conference really intentionally leaning into a couple relationships of folks that are in our young adults ministry that I've had the privilege of speaking at, that I just kind of want to be more present with them and not like come over for dinner so we do this fancy thing. It was like come over and hang out, you know? And that was like a really practical takeaway. And as well as myself knowing that I also need people that are a season or two ahead of me, right? So people that perhaps have grandkids, you know, and the value in that. And I think that's the beautiful like aspect of community and confession that sometimes is missing in many of our church streams. So I think when I heard the backlash to the conference, before the conference even happened, when I had people reaching out to me and like, hey, be careful. Like, what are you talking about? Like, be careful with Preston. I'm like, what? And like, he's going to come out as affirming. Like, no, he's not. Like, and even in hearing him after you guys all shared, and then the panel, I think he comes out and goes, this is not a secondary issue, which is like a very firm position. And I just think so much of the critique is not fair. I think it lumps everyone in who's quote unquote side B as in like one monolith, and they're not, right? Like you're not the same as some of the other people on that panel. You even your language, like to what you choose to use to describe yourself, is not the same as everyone else on that panel. So that was like disappointing to me in terms of how some Christian circles reacted to it, you know. And so hopefully the conversation we had here gave better context. And I think your book, it is going to do that as well. And I think it'll take people into just a, like, hey, regardless on your disagreement on language and what isn't and isn't from God, and can someone deal with this? And at the very least, let's do life with people we disagree with.
Yeah. I want to say one thing to that, if I can.
Yeah.
The church has always been a diverse body of believers. And what I love is whenever I talk about sexuality, people are always like 1 Corinthians 6:9-11, right? That's the sexually immoral will not go to heaven, right? That list. There's a list. But what people fail to miss is Paul is penning this letter to the Corinthians, a church that he loves. And at the end of that section, he goes, as some of you once were. And what that means in reality is he's looking at this church, thinking of them as he's writing to them going, I remember you. You were a temple prostitute, and now you love the Lord, and you're a part of our church. I remember you. You were in a gay relationship with this man, which did exist back then. People, do your history. And he's like, and you left that, and now you are now that person's probably living single in the church. Like this is the reality of what the church has always been, a redeemed people. And for us to remember that the body is a diverse group of people that God has called away from our fleshly desires to himself.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, even in the Church of Corinth, In 1 Corinthians 3, he calls them worldly. In 1 Corinthians 5, he addresses that there's sexual immorality in the church such that the pagans don't even do. And then he says in 1 Corinthians 6, as some of you were. And I want to say in 2 Corinthians, he has to readdress the sexual immorality thing, so that even in the church of Corinth, this wasn't this like static, all these people were sexually immoral. No, none of these people were sexually immoral. Like, no, they were still wrestling and fighting and waging war on the flesh and sorting through these things. And so I think the church of Corinth is a great parallel to America today.
Yeah.
And the issues that people are having. And I think just giving more voice to people's struggles and people's suffering, I think is very brave of you. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate you writing this book and just not being afraid to lean into these hard conversations.